Hot take, stop buying so many amps.
What?
And start buying more cabs. If you're looking for more tonal variety, you need more cabs, not amps. Don't believe me? Well, I'm gonna prove it to you. On a side note, I have not done this experiment before, aside from doing recordings for 15 years. So I'm assuming my hypothesis is correct, but we're gonna find out together and all my reactions will be legitimate. All right, so let's get right into it. We're gonna get the DI track and send it into 2 different high gain amps on 1 cab and compare those differences. Now to keep things fair, let's choose both amps randomly out of this hat of tickets. So let's do the double J, and let's try the Splawn.
So we're in Pro Tools land now. We're working with an artist called Torrential Downpour. I've done a lot of stuff with them over the years. They're great. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna take the DI, we're gonna send it through both amps, the double J and the Splawn. We're gonna record those through the 1 cab, and then we're gonna compare that result to having 2 different cabs or 3 different cabs, whatever we decide on. So let's go ahead and get that going. We're gonna go ahead and record. This is the double J right here. Gonna record over the old track. Cool. Let's try that on the second track. Gonna use an Avitas for this guy. Okay, cool. So that's our bass line for the double J. Now we're gonna create 2 new tracks here. I'm gonna go over to my custom suite setup with the amp switcher that we have. All right, now we're switched over to the Splawn, and let's see what that sounds like. Okay, now we're gonna do the second guitar. Cool. Let's check these out. All right, let's check out the Splawns. Okay, so yeah, there's some detail differences in there. Top end, bottom end sounds a little bit different, but I'm gonna say that in a mix, it's gonna be a tough sell to kind of really hear the actual differences. And compared to what I'm gonna say is a massive difference when we change out the cab and try to get the mic in as close as possible in the same spot. I'm not gonna touch the amps or anything. They will stay in the same spot. So let's go ahead and do that and compare this whole thing.
All right, time for phase 2 of this experiment. We've thrown in the Bogner cab and the Diezel cab now, which we're gonna run through just the Splawn and compare how that sounds next to each other as opposed to 2 different heads into 1 cab. And then we'll compare all of them together and see what our final thoughts are on this whole thing and see if I'm right or wrong. I'm probably right though.
So I fast forward a little bit, did all the setup and recording for you guys so you don't have to sit through that. So we had originally the JJ and the Splawn going through the 1 Friedman cab, which that is here and then here. And then I went ahead and did the Splawn through an Uber cab, obviously a Bogner, and then the same Splawn through a Diezel cab. Now, all of these are V30s that are being mic'd, right? So in theory, you'd think they'd sound very similar. Let's see what actually happened here. And I put the mic in as close as possible, even made some adjustments to make the cabs sound as close as I could to each other. Here we have the difference between the JJ and the Splawn through the same cab. I shit you not. That, those are different heads going through the same cab. No trickery, you know, that's what they sound like. They're very similar. Here is the Splawn Nitro going through the Uber cab. the Splawn Nitro going through the Diezel cap. That's insane. Those sound nothing alike tonally, frequency spectrum wise. They're very different. Obviously the Diezel is much brighter, the Uber cab is much darker, both V30s, both in the same spot, same mic, nothing touched volume on anything. It's as close as I could get it. So let's hear what they sound like going from just like, so we can hear 3 different cabs. The Splawn with the Friedman cab, Splawn with the Uber cab, Splawn with the Diezel cab. And you can see just how different these sound. Let's start here. Yes, so there is a massive difference in tonality between those 3 cabs, which is why I'm trying to push the argument of get different cabs if you want different sounds. Keep a couple of high gain heads for different, variety playing wise or whatever. But from an engineer perspective, not a player perspective, the difference in the cabinet itself and this is just all with the same speaker type will sound much different than the other way around.
I don't know what to say. It's even crazier than I thought it was going to be. The differences in the cabs was substantially different than using different heads on the same cab. So if you're a small studio and you want to get more gear, think about getting a couple of cabs and keeping the one head, maybe the 2 heads, whatever, and building up that cab arsenal for different sounds. Maybe have like a one that does a really versatile head or something that's like a good high gain, then another one that's a good clean. There's a synergy stuff where you can essentially kind of build your own amp. That's that's an interesting thing to try too. So yeah, even if you're using stupid modelers and you're gonna go out to the cab world, try different cabs. Who's to say that that can't be a route you try? So guys, I hope that was enlightening for you. Maybe that'll change your perspective on what to use your funds for next. Maybe try building up a few more cabs in your arsenal before reaching out and kind of making the giant wall of amps, which looks really cool, but in actuality, you get more value maybe from the cabs. It's not as sexy as having all the heads, but maybe it's better in the long run. So this is my first video with URM, and I hope you guys like it. I also have my own channel, which if you want to check out, please do. Hit me up in the comments. Let's start a conversation. What do you guys want to see from me next, maybe? Down to try, anything that you guys find interesting. So I'll see you in the next one.